Hi, I'm Alison McCormick. I was the Secretary of BAMM until this morning when Tracy Carters very kindly is going to take over. And I'm here just now just to introduce our next speaker. And I just had a little bit to say about him first. Just the public like small things. They like teeny tiny objects of art that bring a sense of awe, excitement and wonder. And people also like surprise and discovery, especially when it makes strong cultural connections. And Will Rosie's mosaics take us back to our childhood. They let us remember and imagine. His bright and friendly images bring fun, smiles, fond memories and laughter. And we're going to find out shortly that he is the inventor and creator of Mr. Mortgage, Mr. Scouse, Little Miss NHS and the cheeky Mr. Bandana. Did Roger Hargreaves ever think it would come to this? And to tell us more, we'll hand over to Mr. Mosaic himself, Will Rosie.
Awesome, thank you. And there's me following on from Little Miss MDMA. Love it. I feel a little bit kind of like ill-prepared. I do not have a video of me off my face in a field with no music. So, you know, there we go. But I'll try my best. How do I follow that? Amazing, amazing presentation. Thank you for that. We all good? Amazing. Lewis asked me for a title for my talk. So I just said an incredibly interesting talk by a man who decided without by your leave to colour his city in mosaics. And the reason I got that title is that somebody had a little bit of a go at me on social media and said, what on earth gives you the right to, without a by your leave, just go and stick mosaics up all over your city? And I thought, brilliant. And actually, I've even quoted him on the back of my book. So he doesn't know it, but he's definitely inspired me there. Right. Okay. I don't want to unsettle anybody, so can I show of hands who doesn't like audience participation? Because if I pick on hands up, who doesn't like audience participation? Damn, you didn't fall for it. It's all right, okay. Which means that none of you are going to have a problem with that. Now, so for me, I realised I'm used to walking around on a stage, and I know that everyone online is going to not see me if I wander over there. So one of the things that I think is really important in our culture is, or just for people, is to be able to learn the word no, all right? Because we're so programmed to obey. We're so programmed that when somebody says jump, we say how high. You know, it's just almost like in the British nature that we follow rules. So what I want to do is I just want to kind of like try and break that mould a little bit. So I'm going to ask you all to stand up in a minute, but when I ask you to stand up, I just want you all to say no, all right? Would you all stand up for me?
No.
Excellent. That's brilliant. And just to show that it's the opposite as well, right? So I'm going to pick on you, Alison, right? Do not stand up. Do not stand up. Don't stand up. What are you going to do? Stand up. Right, there we go. So don't stand up. Don't listen to me. Don't take my command. Right, there we go. Awesome. That's how hard it is to break our conditioning that when people tell us to do something or not to do something, we have a tendency to obey. And I don't kind of like, I missed that lesson at school when I was there. I kind of took early retirement from it. A C grade in art was the highest qualification I got. So naturally, I've ended up kind of like owning my own art business, albeit accidentally. Right, how do I do this? Do I just slide across? Oh.
Yeah, you just...
Yeah? Do I just tap on it?
Tap on it.
Oh, mate, that's gone too far. There. Right, so I want to talk to you about how I got into mosaics. So it was 2007. I had just finished working for a youth charity. They started running out of money, and I was sort of like managing or running the charity. And the idea was it was a youth enrichment charity, so we were getting young people involved in different projects across the city. And my job was to find projects to get them involved in. And I teamed up with a community garden in a little area called Shirley Warren. Shirley Warren, normally it's pronounced Shirley Warren. That's kind of like how people feel about the area. It's a very rough area, lots of problems with antisocial behaviour, and this garden, they wanted to be able to engage with the young people in their area so that they weren't vandalising it and that they were getting a sense of purpose and ownership. So I'd been doing that right up to the point where I had to quit from the charity. I then went and did a little bit of landscaping I will talk about mosaics in a bit. I went and did some landscaping with a friend where I developed sciatica. So anyone who's been blessed with sciatica, you kind of feel when you first get it, you're never going to walk again. And I was just lying on the floor. I was thinking, Lord, what am I going to do? I'm dying here. I feel crippled. But then I managed to go to an osteopath and I was getting back on my feet and the pain was incredible. So I was taking a lot of painkillers. And I was just thinking, what on earth am I going to do? I need to get some money coming in from somewhere. And then I got a phone call from the community garden. And then what they'd done, I've lost my, where's my slide again? What they'd done is they got this wall built with these 5 recesses on it. So they were very clever. They applied for a grant to have the wall built, but they made sure it was recessed, and then they could use the wall as match funding towards getting some mosaics built. And they were very successful with this grant. So an £8,000 grant came in, and they phoned me up and they went, Will, we've just got this grant for mosaics, but we don't know any mosaic artists. So there was me thinking, what am I going to do for a job? So I went, I'll project manage that for you if you want. And they were like, oh yeah, would you? No, I've never done a mosaic in my life, right? So as soon as they said yes, I was then on the phone. I phoned up a couple of mosaic companies, said, how do you build mosaics? I'm building a community I was building a community mosaic. I was just getting paid to build it. So I phoned them up, asked a few questions, how do you build mosaics, kind of got an idea of how I thought you built a mosaic, and then I bought all of the materials from a company, Mosaic Trader at the time, and then I ran it as a community training project because I thought if it all goes tits up, I can just go, you can't blame the community, they're trying their hardest, right? So as it was, we ended up with it was the 4 seasons, plus because it was the community gardens on church land, they went for a Celtic cross in the middle. So these were the first mosaics I ever made. It's about 12 square metres of mosaic, and it was great. It had loads of people getting involved, and the project went really well. There's an up close and personal one. So that's autumn, all right, and there's spring, okay. So, or is that summer? I don't know. That must be summer because spring's a daffodil. Either way, we managed to make some great mosaics. Then what happened was I had other organisations heard about the mosaics, and they're like, we've got trouble with young people as well, and we're struggling to engage with them. Can you come and do a project? We'll apply for a grant. So I was helping them to write grant applications because I'd kind of learned a bit about that from my charity days, and it was a bit like solicitor, like no win, no fee. If I don't write a good application, I don't get a job. So effectively, I was kind of grant funded for the first 5 or 6 years, just helping these organisations write applications. I couldn't do it as an individual because, obviously there's rules around, you've got to be a charity or an organised group or whatever. So they were applying for the money to get me a job, for me to engage with the young people and produce mosaics for them. It was like a match made in heaven. So I ended up doing loads and loads of mosaic projects across the city, and then we started kind of being a little bit clever about it as well. So I wanted to try 3D mosaics. Why not? So I teamed up with a guy called Chris, who's a sculptor, and I said, we need to be able to make some 3D mosaics. So this youth club youth centre, they had funding to be able to build some kind of mosaic. I said, why not mosaic graffiti furniture? Why not? Just snatch words out of the air and put them together. So that's what it is. It was called The Link, which is why you got L-I-N and then the K lying down as a table. So ended up 2 weeks we spent with young people, getting them involved. There's 2 lads, couldn't read or write, and they came along to this project and they were just getting involved every single day because it was something that was inspiring them. And that was great. That was just another 2 weeks worth of work that we got in, delivered this fantastic project. Really pleased with that. Then there's Shirley Towers, which is a tower block in Southampton. There was a group of people who are like the community group there. They applied for money to be able to have a grant to have a mosaic built. So we ended up building that in their community room. And the thing about Shirley Towers is it's kind of like quite an interesting place, and they ended up with a sniffer dog on the front entrance from time to time, just smelling people. Now, one of my staff, she turned up to work and she was late, and she just came in and she was just like, I've just been strip searched. The dog sat down next to her and the police said, that's an indication that you've got drugs on you. And she's the most non-druggy person I know, right? But the thing is, you've only got to sit next to somebody who's kind of like smelling a marijuana or whatever, and these dogs will pick it up. So she ended up getting strip searched. So we got her a T-shirt that said, I was strip searched in Shirley Towers, and all I got to show for it was this lousy T-shirt. She really appreciated that. And then we ended up getting kind of like some really interesting commissions came up. So I got contacted by ITV, and they said, "Listen, we're producing Peter Andre's 60-minute makeover. Could you make a mosaic and install it on the show?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, no worries." Now, what we need to do is we need to be able to think cleverly and carefully outside the box. You know, we got to. I'd already kind of like decided I needed to say yes, even though I knew I couldn't make mosaics. But I thought, well, what people can, so they must be doable. So I'd managed to blag my way into being able to build mosaics, built myself a little bit of a business from it, and now was getting contacted by people. They wanted me to do literally basic brown tiles on the back of the fireplace. That's why they contacted me. I know, right, Rachel? I was like, what the hell? Go and see a tiler about that. You know, don't I'm an artist, not a tiler. So, sorry, any tilers. Right. So it's different though, isn't it? You know, tilers, hats off to them. I can't do that kind of precise tiling that you see in bar, you know, those straight lines and everything. No, I'm more kind of like messy and Undermente and all that. Right, Undermente. So I said, let me talk to the graphic designer, the designer for the show, and let me show them a photograph. And I showed them the photograph of a tree that I didn't put a slide up there, but it was a magnolia tree that I designed with birds in it. And in the background was some lines of basic brown tiles, but even though were quite wavy. So I thought, I'll get her to have a look at the background, Charles, but really she's going to look at the thing in the front and go, which is exactly what she did. I got her onto my website and she was just like, that's amazing. I said, so why don't I produce you a backdrop, you know, a fireplace that is worthy of this show? And so she sent me the mood boards, which were all based around British flowers, wild British flowers. So I captured those flowers and put them onto there, and that was it. Now, down at the bottom here, Peter Andrews, I taught him how to grout. I was teaching him how to grout, and he ended up hiding his initials behind the grate at the bottom there. Now, one of the things that probably one of the best decisions I made was to sign up for, I think most people have probably heard of the Wild in Art sculpture trails. Yeah, well, one of them came to Southampton and it was Rhino. So it's go Rhinos, you know, artists, submit your designs and then see what happens. So I thought I'll do one, you know, I called it Environmental, so it's green, but also I wanted to make something that looked like it was almost like made out of jade. So it's kind of got this amazing kind of green look to it, all the different hues. And I know what you lot are like. You're going to be going, that's a GN1, that's a GN3, yeah. All right, yes, I know, it's imprinted in us. So, and used anthracite grout as well. So I submitted this design. It got picked up by a local firm called Old Mutual Wealth. They were, you know, they said, we want you to do our mosaic for us. Now, previously, I'd built the Guinness World Record largest coin mosaic for them, and that was another crazy kind of like phone call. And they said, can you build a mosaic? Can you build a coin mosaic? We want to beat Guinness World Record on. Yeah, easy, we can do that. How'd you build coin mosaics? I mean, you know, it's like if you do tiles, coins, line them down without grout or adhesive or anything, you know, easy. Anyway, so I created that. That ended up going to auction, got bought by John Edwards, who's the bass player of Status Quo. So I go up to his house. I was supposed to go up to his house last week, but he's got called off to Belgium for a tour. Some kind of gig came up, so I couldn't go up. But because it's on fiberglass, the tiles will pop off, particularly the feet, and he insists on keeping it outdoors rather than indoors, and he lets his grandchildren climb all over it and everything. So it's kind of, every year I go up there and I give it a little bit of a makeover, and he's named it Alan. So that led me to think, right, well, they all got auctioned off. So we had this great trail around the city, and then suddenly all got auctioned off, which is great because it meant that, you know, a charity got a bunch of cash, but it also meant that we were left kind of artless. We had this great trail, and then suddenly gone. So I thought somebody ought to do something about that. And you know what it's like when you say that, you know, your little voice in your head goes, well, maybe that's someone as you. I'm like, all right, okay, that'll be me then. What can I do? So I started creating sets of eyes and started putting them around the city. So the idea was, well, maybe people are going to go, oh, well, you know, what's all that about? You know, so, and they kind of did. So I put 6 or 7 sets of eyes up. There's only one set got taken down. That was because I was daft enough to listen to my mate who said, let's put it on this wall. And I knew it was university property, and they are kind of on brand about everything. If something goes up and it's not what they want, they'll just take it. They don't care how good it is. They'll just take it down. Fine. So did the eyes. Not much happened. Now, myself and my wife, that's Susie at the back. Everyone say hello, Susie.
Hi, Susie.
Awesome. Right. You love being the centre of it. She's shaking her going, why did you even bring me into this, Will? So we foster, and at the time we had a 4.5-year-old lad called Alan who was living with us, and I was reading him some bedtime stories. Now, this is a lad called River and his dad Mike, and I got them to stage for my book, so this photo's in my book, and I was reading the Mr. Men and I started looking at the designs. And you know what we're like, don't we? We immediately start cell shading and breaking down pictures and thinking, how will I turn that into a mosaic? I looked at the Mr. Men and went, wow, they look really good. They will lend themselves very well to mosaics. So that was it. I thought I'll design the front covers of all the Mr. Men books, but do them in mosaic tile. So I kind of like started creating the mosaics. I've got some here actually. This is how big they are. So they're only 20 by 20, which is exactly the same size as the book. So I've got my book is the same size as the tile because that's kind of like what I'm like. And I only created Mr. Mosaic because I needed a front cover for my book. So yeah, there we go. So that's how big they are, and they go onto like a frost-resistant tile. And then, unlike you, Wilma, I'm guilty of just using the strongest tiling adhesive I can to put my work up because I'm like, right, I want it to stay up there, and so I put up 3. And I thought, right, well, let's see what happens. And I carried on making in the background. And this was just as COVID was almost going to hit. So it was 2019 that when did COVID turn up? 2020, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the dark ages. So 2019, started putting them up in the January, put 3 up, Mr. Happy, Mr. Tickle, Mr. Impossible. And I started carrying on making more and more and start putting them up whilst watching the social media feeds. And my mates started tagging me in posts that were coming up on some of the heritage groups and photo groups and, well, you know, Southampton interest groups. And I didn't say anything. I just liked the fact that they tagged me in it just to show I wasn't being ignorant or airing them or whatever. But I just wanted to just like carry on, seeing what's happened. I wasn't fussed whether people knew it was me or not. I'm not Banksy. I've got Pear, so I'm quite happy to say I did it. I don't skulk in the shadows like him. So I'm blatant. So then, like, more and more traction. Loads of people are like, what are the mosaics for? Why are these Mr. Men appearing? What are they there for? Which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to make people smile, and I wanted people to be a little bit mystified. You know, to give them a little bit of kind of like a mystery in their life. Oh, it's like we got a mystery to solve here, Scoop. That's what I wanted, and that's exactly what was happening. It was, you know, the Mr. Men. How offensive could the Mr. Men? Well, you know, some people do get offended by Mr. Men and Little Miss. You wouldn't believe it, but there we go. But in the main, they've been part of English heritage or culture for 50 years. We all know. We've all had them read to us, or we've read them to our kids or our grandchildren or whatever. So they're well known. Now, I don't do it at night. Right, I don't do it at night. What I do is during the day. I've got my urban camouflage on there, my high-vis jacket. You can get away with anything if you're wearing a high-vis jacket, literally. You know, and you'll see later I went a little bit more extreme with my disguise as well. So I started putting the mosaics around. Why have I put this slide? Oh, I've got no idea which slides are coming up, by the way. I completely forgot which photographs I had submitted, so this is just as much a surprise to me as it is to you. That's the Civic Centre. They're not representative of anyone working in the building necessarily, all right? But I started putting these things up, and there was, you know, nothing was happening, all right? I wasn't getting, but everyone knew it was me. It was just, I didn't deny it was me. I then started commenting on posts and everything. So I had local councillors who were my friends, and they were kind of like, some interesting work you're doing there, Will. I'm like, yep, absolutely. No problem. I then started getting a little bit clever. So Mr. Fussy, put him up there. Now you can see he's slightly on the piss. My wife, evil genius, she went, when you do Mr. Fussy, put him slightly at an angle there. Just some of my OCD friends would go, no, Will, you're a wrong one. Then, a few months afterwards, I ended up getting a phone call from the BBC. And this guy Ben, he said, "Will, we've been following your work, and we'd love to film you making one and then putting one up." And I said, "Ben, that's really good timing because I was going to hit your property next week, so you can film me putting one on your property without your permission." And he went, "That's genius. Let's do that." That's exactly what happened. And then I ended up with this news article. So I ended up kind of like doing the amazing little article, and. It's interesting, you know, one of the unexpected byproducts of having a news article done about your mosaics is you get contacted by women asking if you're married. So, had some woman email me going, "I think I'm in a little bit in love with you." And I'm just like, nope, block. And then it kind of expanded from the Mr. Men. I thought, well, okay, what other characters are good as well? So I started doing the Simpsons as well, started putting those up, and it kind of like has ended up becoming a bit of a thing. I've done superheroes. I've now got probably 130 publicly viewable mosaics across the city. I have people hunting them all over the place, and I didn't realise quite how far and wide the conversations about them were going. But I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was at a police training kind of like conference thing, and he just said, "Will, somebody brought, it wasn't even me, someone brought up the subject of your mosaics in Southampton." So it's kind of from this time, I thought the Daily Echo might do like a little centre page article on me or whatever. We just don't expect things to happen, do we? We just do them. I just wanted to do it. It felt like the right thing to do, and it just suddenly started taking off. And then I thought, do you know what? No one's stopping me. No one's stopping me doing this. I'm not getting in any trouble or anything like that. So all that publicity, getting arrested, just wasn't there. So I ended up thinking, how could I push it any further than this? So I decided, in the book of Mr. Tickle, there's a little policeman. So I made him his own front cover, Mr. Plod, and then I went and stuck it on our local police station in Portswood. Right, now this car here, I took a photograph of this car here because they were coming in and out. I didn't realise how busy that police station was till I started putting a mosaic up, even with my high-vis jacket on. I thought they might penetrate this disguise, right? So, but they didn't, and I'm there kind of like just like doing a little bit of a car's coming. I was pretending to do something else, and then gradually, gaffer tape. It is our best friend, isn't it? Especially when you've got adhesive and you want it to stay on the wall. So put the adhesive on the back, stick it on the wall, gaffer tape, grout round it. Grout takes a lot less time to dry than the adhesive, even though the adhesive's a lot stronger in the long run. So the grout would set off, and then I'd clean the grout off. That would set off enough. I could take the gaffer tape off, and then basically leave it 24 hours, and it's stuck like to the proverbial. So one way of being able to protect your permission vague mosaic artwork from being taken off too early is cover it with just like a grubby bit of newspaper. That's what I did. Bit of newspaper on the wall, gaffer tape it on there. No one's going to touch a dodgy looking bit of newspaper on the wall, and then your wonderful artwork behind it is drying off. So this is why I ended up getting the name for my book, Mr. Mosaic Unarrestable, because no one's, even the police, I get the odd selfie from a copper next to my artwork. Nothing I seem to do is going to stop them. So it's interesting that Phil was talking about road signs. Now I decided that I would do a road sign. This is the only, and this one's official. I decided to go to the council about it and ask them if they would let me produce a road sign. And it's interesting, they went to highways, and highways were like, well, it's not really going to fit all of our protocols. So I went, well, okay, well, I'll make the white tiles. The white ones are vitreous glass, so they'll reflect light, and the black ones are Winkleman ceramic. You know, they're the unglazed porcelain, so they'll absorb light, which means when car lights are played on it at night, it shows up just as much as a normal road sign, because obviously for people trying to find roads in the dark. But I ended up putting that one up on my wall, so it's become the only official kind of road sign in Southampton done out of mosaics. So, and then I started getting a little bit more creative. So this is a tree up at the Common. Obviously a limb had been taken off of it, so I went up, got a ladder up there, pushed a bit of paper in, just formed it round, drew round it, so I had the exact shape of that little bit of the tree. Went home and then created a little baby Yoda, or Grogu. I've been told now it's not a baby Yoda, it's a Grogu from the Mandalorian. Some people, right? So put that up there. Unfortunately, some people don't always appreciate art. This is a week after, and I think somebody had got something like maybe a scooter or something, or maybe a stone, and just been consistently like throwing it up against it. But what do? Do we kind of Do we give up when our artwork gets destroyed? Well, no. Tolkien calls it the long defeat, right? You know, the world is falling apart. You know, it is. The sun's getting colder and all of that. Everything falls apart. And in the end, everything will fall apart. But just because that's happening doesn't mean that we shouldn't fight for good stuff. It doesn't mean, so it's called the long defeat. The idea is that in the end, it all falls apart. But the longer we can keep things bright and hopeful, the better. And that's where kind of like we come in, isn't it? Because we add that creativity, that spark of difference. While everyone's doing their normal jobs or whatever, we're the ones who kind of like inspire them through our artwork and make them feel good and go, oh yeah, I like that. This happened to one of my mosaics. I put Thor's hammer up. Any Marvel fans will know that I was keeping the Marvel canon alive here. In Thor Ragnarok, when he gets his hammer destroyed by his sister, he ends up getting Stormhammer, the axe, forged. So you can imagine the Marvel fans were going mental about this because it had been destroyed. So instead of taking it down and replacing it, I just replaced it with the axe, and they're like, "Yes, that's what happened with Thor. Brilliant, mate. Well done." So. Lots of things happen. I realised that the write-up was I got some interesting commissions. Now, I was working on a project, getting some young people involved in building this vine up the side of a residential block. And while I was getting these young people building, because we build them in indirect and then stick them onto ply and then straight up the side of the building, I got a phone call through. Now, what happened was, I think we need to seize opportunities or create opportunities as artists. It's very difficult to make a living as an artist unless we're kind of like doing something. Somebody said earlier on, if it's too easy, you're not working hard at it, okay? Or if it feels easy, but a lot of us struggle to be able to make money from our artwork, even though our artwork is stunning and amazing. We think, I think it's worth it. We have to seize opportunities. I built a mosaic lighthouse of the Needles, a mosaic of the Needles lighthouse. Took it down to Lymington. It's one of the richest towns in England. It's just down the road from us in Southampton. So, the Yellow Welly crew live all down there with their yachts and everything. And I thought, if I can find a shop to display it in, a tiling shop, maybe someone who lives down there will go, "Oh yeah, I like your work. I want to commission a piece of work from you." So I went down, met this guy called Robin, amazing guy, owned the tile shop. I showed him the piece. I said, "This is what I do for a living. I was wondering whether or not I could display a piece in your shop." He went, "I'm going to clear out my front window. I want you to build a stand for that mosaic, bring it down. I want business cards and portfolios. No problem at all. That's going centre stage in my shop." So I thought, Robin's impressed. Stuck it there. Nothing happened for like a year and a half. And I was thinking, oh, right, I'm going to need to move that because effectively nothing's happening, and like different fishing grounds. Let's move it somewhere else. And that's one of the things that I've learned is if your work is not getting valued where you are, you need to move your work somewhere else, right? So, a bottle of water costs 50p in a supermarket. Same bottle of water in a newsagent's costs 75p. Same bottle of water in a pub costs you £1.50. Same bottle of water in a restaurant, £3.50. Same bottle of water in the airport, £5. Yeah, same bottle of water. If you're not getting, if you want poor prices, only advertise where people can't afford your prices, so you have to sell cheap, right? And basically you're downgrading your art. Try and get your artwork into a position where it's seen by people who have a disposable income, who are actually. Yes, preach it, sister. Nice one. So, yeah, fellas, can I get an amen? Right, so I put it there and nothing happened. And then I got this phone call, and it was this guy. He goes, "Oh, I'm David Manley from Disney," and I'm like, "Oh, what, the Disney?" He said, "Yeah, the Disney." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, what do you want?" He goes, "I've seen your work." "Where have you seen my work, mate?" "I've seen your work and I like what you do. I've got this project. I need 7 panels made and I need them made by the beginning of September." So bearing in mind, this is like just near the end of July. 21st of July, I get this phone call. Susie's already said to me, "Will, you've got too much work on. Can you not take any more projects on with the September deadline?" "Of course, my love. I will honour your request. No problem at all. How could I possibly say no, and would I dare?" Anyway, so I have this phone call on the 21st of July. I'm just ramping up to do the Guinness World Records largest coin mosaic, right? That's what I'm prepping for, which is why Susie's well stressed, and there's just like and other bits and pieces as well. So the guy phones me and he said, "I've got this project I need finished by the beginning of September." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." He said, I need 7 mosaic panels made, and I need you to build them. But the thing is, I need you to ship them to Rome and then fly over to Rome and install them for me." And I'm like, the irony of an Englishman being sent to Rome to install mosaics wasn't lost on me, right? I'm like, "Great." I said, "Yeah, okay, send them over, no problem." He sent me through the designs, and I thought, right, okay, so this is what the designs were. Quite austere. See Mickey Mouse's head in the middle there? That's the cash desk on their store on the Via del Corso in Rome, and there were 2 more panels to go in the front entrance as well. So they sent me through the designs. So I thought, right, I'm going to quote on this one because I was going away in a week's time for 2 weeks holiday as well. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to say that. Going to Ireland for 2 weeks with the family. So I went home and I'm like, right, what am I going to do? So I costed it, then doubled it, then added a 0, and then I sent him the quote, and he just got back to me and went, Why is it so expensive? I said, well, David, I've already ordered all the materials because I need them here by Friday to put them in my minibus to drive them to Ireland, where I will spend my family holiday building your mosaics for you before shipping them over to Rome. He went, brilliant, go for it. So I thought, fantastic, because I thought if he says no, I get a family holiday. If he says yes, I get an amazing commission, for Disney, which is amazing. So anyway, so then Susie comes home. And I said, like, Susie, I've got some good news and I got some bad news. And she's like, right, what's the bad news then? And I'm like, I've taken on another commission with a September deadline. And she's like, right, okay. And then she didn't steeple her fingers. She's not that type. I said she wanted to, right? And it was almost like she was like, okay, what's the good news then? As if there could possibly be any good news, Will, with this news you've just dropped upon me. So I said, well, it's for Disney. This is how much it is. We've got to build these mosaics, ship them over to Rome, fly over there and install them. And she went, we're going to Rome. Yes, we are. That's exactly. So that was it. We went over. We built them, shipped them to Rome. Took 2 days' work when we got over there, and then the rest of the time walking around the city, waiting for the plane to turn up, and that was it. So amazing time, great holiday. So how much time have I got? A few more minutes, right? I'm aware that I can talk for England. So I've now what I've done now is that I realise that people are going around, literally coming to the city to try and find my mosaics, going around trying to find them. And I like the idea of giving stuff for free. How can I, it's great that people can stand next to a mosaic, have a selfie, but can people find can I produce something, doesn't take too much time, that people will search for, and when they find it, keep it. So I created the Squoji, square emojis, right? So these little things, got little characters. So I build these, that's how big they are, and then I hide them. I run these organised hunts where I'll go on my socials and I'll say, right, there's going to be a hunt, 3 o'clock Sunday, meet down at the bar gate, and then at 3 o'clock, bang, I ping a photograph of the more site-specific location. Some of you who follow me on Instagram already know I do this and are aware of this, and then effectively it's just a mad rush of English people pretending to be polite and courteous, kind of like trying to sabotage each other, trying to find these mosaics. And the last hunt of the weekend that I ran last weekend, the same family found both of them, and I looked around and thought they're going to get lynched. Right, they found both. She sent me a message afterwards going, I don't think we'll be coming to the next few hunts just in case we find them. We give other people a chance to find them. But now this is kind of like what I'm putting my energy into as well, the Squojis, because I now sell them as well, because I'm very much aware that what we need to do, if you're going to set up a business, we need to have our art head on, but we need to have our business head on. We need to become oversubscribed as a business. We need to have more people wanting our product than we can produce, which means then we can have decent prices attached to our artwork, and it means we can actually make a living from it. So I started retailing these, £35 each. People are buying them, but then I'm also taking commissions for if people want sparkly, shiny tiles. I mean, we all know they don't cost much more, right, than your bog standard vitreous range, but you can just ramp the price up into the hundreds and people will still be wanting to buy them because they're rare, right? It's like Pokemon, As long as I keep producing these things, I'll have people wanting to buy them. It's great. And now I'm just about to buy a laser etching and cutting machine so that I can produce these for pocket money value, but they're going to be square ones. They'll still look like mosaics because you can etch it to look like a mosaic, cut round, and then you can have kids trying to buy the whole collections, and then I can just keep designing, keep producing, because effectively we need to make sure that we're creating a passive income for ourselves as well. Because, who knows? A lot of us, we stop making money when we stop cutting, right? Okay, and as soon as that happens, we know we're out of a job if we can no longer cut. So I'm well aware, who knows, I might have 10, 15 years, 20 max being able to make mosaics potentially. So what I want to do is establish a passive, easily reproducible income now, making this making the mosaics as a brand. So there we go. Am I done? I've got 16 seconds left or whatever. So there's a few more photographs there that I've done. Have I? Yeah. All right. That is a floor in a community centre. We discovered it was very slippery because it's vitreous glass, so I ended up having to find this product that allows you to seal it with this kind of like resin that's got almost like invisible sand in it, so it creates this kind of anti-slip kind of. Who knew? I had to find out because I was going to get sued. So, yeah, I don't know. That's half an hour done. But any questions?
Yes. Yeah, we're wonderful. Wasn't that great? It was really nice to hear.
Oh yeah, go on. One more thing, right? I built a Mr. Saints mosaic, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and stick this down on Portsmouth Football Club, right? Because they're our arch enemy, like Derby team. So I'm going to go and stick it up. I'm getting a photographer friend of mine to photograph it up and me putting it up. And then I'm going to sell the prints. And then hopefully the prints will cover my hospital bills when I get filled in by angry Pompey fans. So there we go. Now you can take over, sorry.
It was really nice to see the personality of you coming across in your mosaics and hearing you speak. It just wasn't, the two just merged together, didn't they? It was really, really good. So any questions from the floor?
Did you say you got into trouble by the copyright of the Mr. Men or not?
No, I haven't been in trouble by Mr. Men copyright effectively. So I can't make and sell the original Mr. Men because obviously they're all covered by copyright, which is why I now sell bespoke ones. So I've had people contact me going, "Can you make me a Mr. Finance?" Like from a financial advisor. There's a guy who owns a mortgage company. I've made Mr. Mortgage. I made Mr. Bid for a guy who was he was the chair of the Business Improvement District in Southampton. The guy, Mr. Marathon, for the guy who runs the Southampton Marathon. He kind of like he organises that. So lots of different people are now coming to me and saying, "Can you make me bespoke mosaics?" So I started off just like selling them because you know what we're like as artists, we don't value ourselves sometimes. So I started off 120 quid for them, but that's like a day and a half's work for 120 quid, which is actually nothing. So now I've kind of like started ramping my price up. I've got a waiting list and they're 450 quid each, and people are still going, "Yeah, I want one." So again, it's about marketing myself to the people who've got the disposable income and who can afford my work, which means then once I've established a business where I can make a lot more money, it means I don't have to work as much, which means I can spend a lot more time doing my voluntary stuff. Because like you, I'm a street pastor as well, so I'm out and about on the streets and that. I love doing that, other different. I just enjoy being able to make mosaics for fun as well, so I can do more community projects but for free. So that's the plan. So when it comes to Mr. Men, if they did decide to take me to court for making that mosaic trail, they'll be the first people I'll bring to my defence would be their social media department for promoting my stuff and sharing all of my photographs of the Mr. Men trail, going, "What do you think about this one? This is good, isn't it?" So yeah, they shot themselves in the foot there. Thanks, Phil.
It's obvious that you've got really strong core drafting, drawing skills, and your ability then to scale up your designs. I mean, one of the is it Shirley?
It's Shirley Towers.
Shirley Towers, and even the beginning ones like the butterfly and everything. Because for me that's one of the things that I think we notice in mosaic. The skill of being able to draw and produce a design. So how did you develop those skills? Okay,
let me into a little secret. It's called an overhead projector. And what I do is I just produce an acetate of I'll print off an A4, for example, that butterfly at the beginning. A4 comes out, and what I do is I then put acetate over it, and you can get some that you can just use kind of like, the fine line marker pens, and a rotary, whatever it is, and I draw around all the major areas, because you know what it's like, isn't it? We separate it, we can see, we just break it all up. So I break it all up, and then what I do is I get that acetate onto an overhead projector. I'll measure out the size of, so in that case the butterfly was easy because it's a square, so I just created a square board, the exact size of the mosaic, OHP'd it up onto there, so I covered it in white paper so the lines would show up. I then draw around it in pencil, then I'll go over it in Sharpie marker pen to make sure that it's all kind of like looking right, because I'm not good at scaling up otherwise it's that grid method that takes like 8 years or whatever. I ain't got time for that, I've got money to make, mosaics to build, right? So I do that, and then you can code it according to your palette. So I just have my palette, and I just colour code it that, and then it means you've got the whole board is then done. Then what you do, so that's Shirley Towers, done in sections. I draw around, I'll find where the best cut lines are going to be, and then I'll just separate it into 8 or 9 pieces, and that way I can work on my dining room table. Well, I no longer work on my dining room table. For 15 years, my wife put up with the fact that there was mosaics on the dining room table, and I had a board cut exactly the same size as the table, which I did at dinner time, right, mosaic, board over the top, tablecloth, no one knew there was a mosaic underneath. So I'm still able to produce large-scale mosaics, but doing them in sections like that. So it's a very, it is a very simple, easy. So if you, OHPs, they tend to be a lot more difficult to get hold of now because obviously we've got data projectors and everything. They're still around though, so you can, if you can pick one up and then buy a load of spare bulbs for it, you're sorted. All right, I think I picked one up for like 50 quid on eBay, and then I bought another one just in case that broke, I'd have a spare. So I've got 2 OHPs and a whole load of bulbs.
So if someone came and asked you for a commission for something that you couldn't find a picture of on the internet, you'd be stuck.
No, because there's this thing called AI. You just go onto an AI producer and go, can you do a picture of William Shakespeare wearing a tutu? Boom, there we go. And then you've got type it in several times, or as many free goes as it gives you before you then got to subscribe. And effectively you've got a whole range of William Shakespeare's in a tutu to be able to choose from. So that's really good. Yes, generally, I've not been stuck yet. There are some times I'm having to produce my own designs or whatever, but I mean, again, I'm just drawing. I can do freehand, that's no problem. And then all I do is I turn my freehand into an OHP or to an acetate. So, yeah. Giving away all my secrets, fine, crack on. Just do what I did. Just ask questions.
Any more questions?
Well, I was just going to say, thanks for this great talk. It just strikes me that you sort of became a mosaic artist by accident. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, totally.
What if you hadn't actually liked making the mosaics? What do you think you would have done something else?
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, I don't have a career.
Sort of in a way that you didn't realise you would.
Yeah, I just just accidentally fell in love, discovered I had like a natural affinity with working with the tiles, and that was it. It kind of like took off. I thought, yeah, because I've always, the thing is, we've always been artists. You can't teach an artist to be an artist. You can just teach an artist better technique. All right, that's what, because art is in us, and we can learn better techniques, and we can learn new mediums, and then we just go for it like that. And that's exactly what I did. If it hadn't been mosaics, it'd be something else. And because I like street art as well, so it might have been that I'd gone on to do graffiti and taught young people to do graffiti and started running workshops like that. But yeah, I don't have a career. I've got a series of experiences that have kind of like just led me to where I am now. Oh, that was another benefit I've just realised in the jog my memory when. One of the benefits of doing the Mr. Men stuff was I ended up having a phone call from the Sheriff of Southampton. And the way that the sheriff and mayors work is you're sheriff one year and then you slot into the mayoral position the next year. So the sheriff called me and she said, "Oh, Will, I know you've got a spiritual side and everything, but I'd like you to be my chaplain because not just because your spiritual side, but I like the fact that I would have an illegal graffiti mosaic artist as my chaplain. That will piss a lot of people off." And I'm like, "Jackie, I would love to help fulfil that role." So I ended up becoming the Lord Mayor's chaplain. So I was organising kind of like civic services, and then the Queen died in that year, and so we had to do a remembrance service, and then I was going to meals here, there and everywhere as well, and people were coming up to her, the mayor, and going, "You know who that is, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm very well aware of who my chaplain is." So it was amazing. Just had some great stuff. Anyone else?
Great, yeah.
You obviously got a lot of mosaics all around Southampton,
Yeah.
and there was something in the blood about plans to extend beyond Southampton. Do you have ideas about you're very prolific where you are?
Prolific. That's exactly how the Echo described me the other day. Listen, that's a really neutral word, isn't it? He's prolific. Yeah.
You've done a lot of stuff.
I've done a lot of stuff. Yeah. I think. What do I want to do? Not entirely sure. I mean, I'm looking. So this just over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of kind of like talk about London and a lot of kind of like suggestions about and links that I've accidentally discovered in London. The other day, I created I produced a QR code mosaic. Some of you may well have seen it on my Instagram. I got commissioned to do a QR code mosaic. It was 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters, done in single pixelations basically. And I got paid to do that and put it on the side of a building. You scan it and it takes you to a voting page where you could vote for the largest UK CO2 friendly paint mural in the UK on this building. So everyone in Southampton thinks that I did that whole building. All I did was I did a QR code on it. But that led on to me discovering a company, Lawless Studios. They get artists involved in marketing. And this guy put a post up saying, marketers artists are your secret weapon. And he showed a photograph of a perfume bottle that had been painted by a fairly famous artist in France. This perfumery had teamed up with them to make a limited edition range of perfume bottles, and they were going for like 20 grand a piece for these perfume bottles. I thought, maybe I can do something like that. So I contacted this woman I know who's part of the events and marketing team for Hattingley Wines, and I said, Rebecca, Rachel, the partner. I reckon we should do like a limited edition range of Hattingley bottles. Why don't I mosaic one? And she went, yeah, you mosaic one, and we'll donate it to an organisation's auction. It was a charity auction. So I created this mosaic bottle. Have a look at it on my Insta. I was under the influence of a lot of Hattingley wine that evening, so which is why, yeah. So made this bottle. I was really pleased with it. And then at the night of the auction, one of our local radio presenters was doing the auction, and she was starting off £100 this, £100 that. Did 10 items at this auction, and then my bottle came up. I put my hand up. She's like, "Oh, Will wants to say something," so I got up, took over the auction for that piece, and I just said, "Right, who's going to get this? This is an amazing piece of artwork. It's a bottle, limited edition, Hattingley wine. Starting bid £1,000." And yeah, I drank probably equivalent to a bottle of Hattingley when I got up there. Anyway, I just kept, bottle of wine, £1,000. This is an amazing piece of artwork. Who want it? Then she went, yeah, I'll have it for £1,000. And then somebody else went £1,100. So it went for £1,100 for a £35 bottle of wine. And but I'd spent a week on that, so it was well worth it. So yeah,
I think we'd all like you as our marketing agent. You. Yeah, is that it? We're done. We're not.
It's not a question for you, but sorry. Quick question for everybody here. The pizza man is about to arrive to set up. There's a large white Mercedes van outside the chapel. If there's any chance the owner of that could move it somewhere else over till he sets up the pizza truck, that might keep going right there. That'd be much appreciated.
No, just one parting thing. I'm aware that I could have talked forever. I had so many more stories. If you want to hear more stories, especially about my Mr. Men stuff and some of the crazy stuff that came out of it, then it's all in my book. So feel free, grab hold of a copy of that, and then hopefully that'll be even more inspiration to take away with you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Cheers.